Okay, guys, let's talk about this reading strategy that we call visualize. Okay, so what does that mean? In this video, you'll learn how to use the visualize strategy to improve your reading comprehension. You'll learn how to use a double entry journal. Okay, so visualizing is creating pictures in your mind as you read, like we talked about. Okay, these are called movies in your mind. And we know that authors often use descriptive language to help you, the reader, make a mental image of what is happening. Here are a couple of examples from Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. These are some good images to kind of picture in your mind. So the first one is he picked up the bowl of cereal in one hand and Fudge in the other. Fudge is a little boy. He carried them both into the bathroom. I went along nibbling on a bone to see what was going to happen. My father stood Fudge in the tub and dumped the whole bowl of cereal right over his head. Fudge screamed. He sure can scream loud. Okay, so the technique is called visualizing, but you are going to use your other senses as well. So as I'm reading this, he picked up the bowl of cereal in one hand. I'm kind of picturing the milk possibly sloshing around. Sometimes the spoon is in there too, and he's carrying it in one hand, and he's got Fudge in the other, tucked under his arm. Okay, and so if you ever picked up a small child, they don't usually you don't pick them up easily without squirming. So he's kind of squirming all around, and the look on his face is probably not very happy if he's picking up a child in one hand and a bowl in the other. So the dad, that's who's doing this, it probably has an expression of maybe looking angry on his face. I went along, so that's the narrator of the story. It's the brother nibbling on a bone. So I can kind of picture this kid like kind of casually just watching. He's eating something, just watching to see what's going to happen. So he's kind of like interested. My father stood Fudge in the tub. So the father probably picks him up and puts him in the tub, and the kid has no idea what's going on. And then he dumped the whole bowl of cereal right over his head. Okay, so I'm picturing like Cheerios and milk just running down this kid's face. Some of the milk is still on his face, and then some of the Cheerios are probably stuck in his hair, and milk running all over his clothes. And then Fudge screams. So you can imagine a small child just screaming in anger because they don't know what's going on, and the kid is not very happy. And it says he sure can scream loud. So that gives a great image right there of what's happening. Okay, moving on to the second passage here. In the fall, the leaves turn darker and drop off the trees. Sometimes there are big piles on the ground. It's fun to jump around in them. Okay, so we've experienced leaves in the fall, and you can almost smell leaves. You can smell fall. So that's something I would do as I'm picturing the leaves changing. Maybe the temperature outside it's cool, but it's not cold yet. You could see trees. You could see piles of leaves on the ground. Where I'm from, there are, leaves are a lot of different colors, so I'm picturing lots of bright colors, reds and yellows, browns, and I can smell it. You can almost smell fall in the air. And then in my mind, I'm picturing jumping around in leaves. Like what a fun thing that is to make a pile of leaves and then jump in those. Okay, so here's the double entry journal. This is a way of tracking what you're reading about. And so here are the directions. You're going to fold a piece of paper or a journal in half, and you're going to make a T-chart, and I show you how to do that, and label on one side what the author says. I wrote the word text on one side, and on the other, what I visualize. So that's your image. What are you drawing? So we're going to use a couple passages here from Wonder to Okay, I'm going to make a T-chart, just a piece of paper. So I just take my paper, fold it in half, and then I'm going to want to draw a line here down the middle. On the left side, I'm going to write text. On the right side, this is where my images are going to go. So I'm going to use some text from Wonder about the way August is described in August Through the Peephole. Okay, so I read this his eyes are about an inch below where they should be on his face, almost halfway down his cheeks. So I kind of just drew an outline here. Maybe ordinarily people's eyes are here, about here on this face, so I drew them a little lower. Okay, they slant downward at an extreme angle, so they are going at an angle like this. The left one is noticeably lower. Okay, so on this one I added that lower. The top eyelids are always half closed. Okay, so we can add that detail. Okay, so you can see by reading the text, the author gave us some really good descriptions for us to make a mental picture of just what Age looks like and why people react like they do so extremely. So that's how you do a T-chart. Again, it's folded paper, 2 columns. Left is text, the right side is the images that you draw. Okay, so a quick review of what we did here today. Look for the author's use of imagery to guide the movie in your mind. So pay attention to the way the author describes things. Colors, smells, sounds, using all your senses. Use a double entry journal to monitor your visualizations. Now, if you're reading casually on your own, you probably just want to pay attention to that. But if you're having to read something for school, that's a good idea to create a T-chart. Okay, and that wraps up our lesson on visualizing and using the T-chart. All right, great.